Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Green. We're doing another Read the Bible in 1 year, day 83, 1 Samuel 16 through 18. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell. That way you get updated whenever I post a new video. Like the video and also comment. Even if you say hello, thumbs up, thank you, high five, whatever you want to comment's fine. It helps with the algorithm. Remember, I'm dyslexic and I stutter, so sometimes when I say a big word, I get kind of confused. Just bear with me. And here we go. 1 Samuel chapter 16. And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thy horn with oil, and go, I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, How can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, Take a heifer with thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what ye shall do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him who I name unto thee. And Samuel did what the Lord spoke, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, Cometh thou peacefully? And he said, Peacefully, I come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourself, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and he called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said, Surely the Lord anointed is before him. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on his height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth. For a man looketh upon the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh upon the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab, and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, Neither has the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shemiel to pass by, and he said, Neither has the Lord chosen this. Again Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, The Lord has not chose these. And Samuel said to Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal beautiful countenance, and goodly to look at. And the Lord said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from the day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servant said unto him, Behold now, an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Let our Lord now command thy servants, which are before thee, to seek out a man who is a cunning player on a harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. And Saul said to his servants, Provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Then he answered one of his servants, and said, Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, that is cunning and plain, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse, and said, Send me David thy son, which is with thy sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread, and a bottle of wine, and a kid, and sent them by David his son into Saul. And David came to Saul, and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and became his armor-bearer. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, Let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he has found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took a harp, and played with his hands. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shishol, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shishol and Azekah and Edaphendammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Eli, and set the battle array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he laid the helmet of brass upon his head, and went armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shear went before him. And he stood and cried to the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and yet you servants of Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then I will be your servant, but if prevail against ye, and kill him, and ye shall be your servants, and ye shall serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all of Israel heard those words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of an Ephraimite of Benjamin Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons, and the man of were among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 elder sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to battle. And the names of the 3 sons that went to battle were Eliab the firstborn, the next was him Abinadab, and the third Shimea. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented him 40 days. And Jesse said to David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephod of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run into the camp of thy brethren. And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of the 1,000, and look at how their brethren fare, and how they pledge. Now Saul and they, the men of Israel, were in the valley of Eli, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forward to the fight, and he shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hands of the keeper of the carnage, and they ran to the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And when he had talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spoke according to the same words, and David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man that cometh up? Surely to divide Israel he come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, his king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For whom he is uncircumcised Philistine, he should defy the armies of the living God. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab his eldest brother heard that he spoke to this man, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, Why comest thou down hither, and whom thou have left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and thy naughtiness of thy heart, for thou art come down for thou mightest to see the battle. And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him towards another, and spoke after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard of David spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul, as he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fall because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he is a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and it took a lamb out of the flock. And when it went after him, they smote him and delivered him out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and the uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he has defiled the armies of the living God. David said, Moreover, The Lord that delivered me out of the paws of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with you. And Saul armed David with the armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off for him. And he took a staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a script. And a sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shear went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and a rowdy, and a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest with me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his God. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thee flesh to the fowls of the air and the beasts of the field. And then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee with the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and I will take your head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day to the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all the assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, but the battle is Lord's, and he will give me into your hands. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote this Philistine on the forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon the face of the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood up on the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah rose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines, until thou come to the valley, and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of Shaaraah, even into Gath, also into Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistines, he said to Abner, the captain of his host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, Inquire of whose son this stripling is. And David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines. Abner took him, and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said unto him, Whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse the Benjaminite. 1 Samuel chapter 18. And it came to pass, when he had made the end of speaking to Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and would not let go of him no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, to his girdle. And David went out whatsoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul sent him over the men of war, and he was accepted to the sight of all the people, and also the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came when David had returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women came out to the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets and joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and was saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed 1,000s. And what has he done more for but the kingdom? And Saul's eyes eyed David from that day forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand. It was at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast a javelin, for he said, I will smite David, even to the wall with it. And David avoided it with his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and he was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over thousands, and he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all of his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, Behold, my eldest daughter Merab, her I will give thee to wife. Only be thou vigilant for me, and fight for the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistine be upon him. And David said unto Saul, Who am I, and what is my life or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at a time when Merab Saul's daughter should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Midianite to wife. And Michal Saul's daughter loved David, and when she saw Saul, the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give her, that she may be snare unto him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law, and one of them twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king has delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spoke these words to the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to a light thing to be king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man, and lightly esteemed. And the servant of Saul told him, saying, On this matter spoke David. And Saul said, Thus say to David, The king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hands of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be king's son-in-law, so the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, and his men, and slew the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them to the full tale to the king, that he may be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, the daughter to wife. And Saul saw that he knew that the door was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. Well, guys, that's the video. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, like, and also comment. I'm going to put a couple of links on the screen. The bottom right is going to be the Read the Bible in 1 Year study. The top left is going to be a playlist I think you might like. And the bottom left is going to be a video YouTube things you're going to like. If you know somebody that might benefit from the study, please share it with them. You can also share it on social media. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.